Alex Answer here, June 2nd, 2015, the first perhaps in a series of wild-haired webcam discussions about a number of different topics. The focus still is on silver and what is going on in the precious metals industry. More people are waking up to the fact that there has been an artificial suppression of the price of gold and silver. There are other people that are just now waking up to this concept. And there are other people in some articles that are actually still skeptical, and they're looking for, some documentation of that, of which I am aware of the J.P. Morgan court case, in which they have already been found guilty, I believe, or something close to that. It's already out in the public eye that J.P. Morgan has been very much involved in suppressing the price of silver. So Greece, I suspect that China would play a big role in the Greece bailout. China to the rescue, because I noticed there wasn't a lot of talk about China. You Google China and Greece, they've already loaned Greece a lot of money. So on that front, because a lot of people have been looking at the situation with Greece and China's stock market, an overvalued stock market, thanks to banking policies from China's central bank that look a lot like the Federal Reserve. Fiat currency, printing money out of thin air, loaning out more than what you have on reserve, all classic Federal Reserve bankster tactics, brought to you by the Bank of China. Ding, 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 is there a light bulb going off about a global new world order yet? I don't know. Is there? You tell me. China and Bank of America, HSBC going to Hong Kong, J.P. Morgan Chase in China. I mean, just the incest just continues. And it does get quite perverse. But looking at the opinions of others, making a video about silver yesterday and asking for some comments from my audience, from what I understand, there's some popular perspectives out there, there's different perspectives out there. What do I believe to be the truth? I have stumbled upon these silver cycles, and I find it to be very interesting. Being a guy, as some of you guys know me, I love studying the solar cycles. And I've always been thinking, how can I use the understanding of cycles, my ability to understand patterns, towards something dealing with investment. And I think that even in this day and age, the stock market crashes, there are still some things worth investing in. And sometimes we have to listen to our intuition. And so, it was kind of that voice inside that kind of has been encouraging me to look more at silver the last week. This is not just about investing. It's a topical. It's a trend. It's what's happening economically. There's a number of trends I pick up on, and then I see them manifest in the news. I'm not saying I can predict everything that's going to take place. I think some of you know what I mean, where you think about a certain thing and you're starting to see it manifest in the news, that your gut feeling was actually correct. And so I'm noticing there's a number of people who have this gut feeling that silver, even though there's been this manufactured push down in the value of it, that at some point it's going to rebound and it's going to spike and it's going to go through another bull cycle, or it's going to have another cycle to where it is the popular precious metal commodity. Gold is also low as well. I think it's trading at about 1172 or 1170, or pretty close to that. And I think just the other day or yesterday it dropped down $6. Silver right now is at $15.65 or so an ounce. And I guess platinum and a few other metals that start with P are positioned to do real well. And there's some metals out there that are like platinum, more expensive than I thought. So there's a whole world out there of metals, industrial metals, and things being developed in this day and age, like cell phones and other technologies, to where silver is a commodity that's actually used in industry. And there are other things going on with mining companies attempting to find more silver. How much silver is actually in the ground, I personally don't know that. But what is believed and what is printed out there is that there is a finite amount of silver. But there are multiple silver mining companies around the world: United States, Canada, Mexico, China. China is number 2 in production. And I find factors like whatever, what's going on with China, obviously this plays a significant role in where the price is going to go. But what a lot of people are figuring out is even though there's viral demand for silver in China and demand is going up, the price of it, is still down here at the 1560, 1570 range. So it's obviously manipulated, or obviously there's some sort of other phenomena taking place. For those that are skeptical of the idea of things being manipulated like that, they haven't yet provided, to me, a concrete argument as to why we're seeing this phenomena, for demand to go one direction and for silver to go in another direction, the value of it, which is down. So the question is, how much longer is this going to go down? Some people are hoping it's going to go down to 10 or 12. And then some are saying, don't hold your breath on that. And we cite examples like what's happening with Greece, China, Puerto Rico, and other bond devaluations because these are quick, out-of-the-blue things that are happening that, we're not necessarily able to predict, even though Greece has been on the radar for years. But there are things that other forces in this universe are creating certain circumstances because they want a certain outcome. And so we could see overnight, sudden collapses of currencies, collapses of bonds that were not necessarily predicted days prior. There's that element of surprise that they keep using because at the top of the pyramid, they're controlling the pyramid, controlling the value of the currencies. And of course, people say, no, not everything is a conspiracy. And no, not everything is a conspiracy. That's absolutely accurate. There are some things that are wild cards. But certain things like major bank policies, major decisions behind closed doors, there's a whole array of things that are absolutely deliberate that most people don't even think about. Using China, again, as an example. They're using a page from the Federal Reserve, how-to book, how to create a bubble that will actually end up ripping people off. And they have taken away the requirements for the bank to have a certain amount of cash or assets on hand. And it's that whole 10%, 90% thing. It's been duplicated in China. So it's got a skyrocketing stock market to go along. That's like a really fit person that's already in their prime, shooting steroids to take it that much more further to bring the veins out as you flex. But it's unnatural to have that much of a surge of testosterone in the male body. You got to be natural with it. Be powerful, but be naturally powerful. Otherwise, you're going to have a crash. You're going to have complications. China's going to have complications, and then it's going to be war. They're not going to like it when they wake up one day and find out they don't have what they used to have. And you know what's going to happen then? They're going to blame it on the United States. And you know what's going to happen then? They're going to be more willing to go to war. And there's going to be more Chinese willing to go to war when they have resource depletion, when the U.S. takes the blame for what is really it is a larger New World Order global superstructure. Especially when you're dealing with the corporate level, hence transnational corporations that supersede nation states, and yet people are still thinking in terms of nation states. So, silver, where is it going to go from here in response to these events and other events that have yet to happen? Look at how quick they had a whole, we're going to shut down D.C. Yeah, we're going to shut down D.C. Oh, we got to shut down. That was all like a psychological warfare game. Oh, we're getting used to the government shutting down. Okay, we're robots. Everybody shut down now. Domo arigato. Mr. Roboto, shut down. Government, shut down. Like, really? Like, we're not obviously in some sort of weird mind control scene from like the movie The Island. Just everything is there except that little moment where we look up at the telescreens and we take our little vape pen or we take our little, one of those little CO2 cartridge syringe things that go zzz. The movie The Island is a movie where they're living in some dystopian reality and they don't have emotions and they have to look up periodically as if they're Muslims praying to Mecca. And periodically throughout the day, look up at the telescreen, obey its commands, take out the CO2 syringe, and Make sure there's no feeling. Make sure there's no thought. So, where is silver going to go from here on out? Looking at the long-term cycles, there is an upward trend. And got off track there thinking about the island. Because, also when people think about money and getting a quick buck, they end up in that same matrix as well. And there's plenty of people out there that are silver investors that are talking about, there are too many people that think about getting in on something and seeing it as an investment that goes in one particular trajectory from, the bottom to up. And we do see cycles. And there likely are other explainable or explanations for the rise and fall of silver outside the box of manipulation caused by J.P. Morgan, China, other special interests, New World Order, controlled groups, and governments and corporations. There are cycles to all things, and that's what makes this whole conversation really interesting. Looking at the phenomena of the cycle of the silver rise and fall over the course of the last decade, the 4 cycles, and looking at where we are now by recognizing that there is a pattern and that this could be the bottom out point or very close to it. And that's all pretty much I'm going to share in this video, 11 minutes in. Let me know your thoughts on what you think about September 2015. This whole discussion about the precious metal cycle of rise and fall, precious metal manipulation. Also, for those that do collect in precious metals, right now this is a poor man's investment, poor man's gold. Silver is poor man's gold, and with silver bottoming out, even people living in poverty, just for a little, token's sake, could likely transfer their money now into silver and possibly double their money in, say, 2 years' time. If the cycle that we've seen so far maintains the pattern. Of course, anything can happen at any time, and there is a little gamble and risk, but right now, with the price bottoming out, after some serious drops in the price of silver, it was just a few years ago that it was at a 30-year high in late 2011. And so it does appear that this could be a safe investment. I also want to mention, and I have not bought any silver yet, and I'm just planning on starting out with a few coins. But I'm also still looking at different websites, different eBay ads, and also getting the opinion of others. Some people like the American Silver Eagles. They're IRA backed, and some people steer away from it because it says U.S. Mint, and they're thinking about, well, what happens if the United States goes to war and is declared an enemy? Will there be any value to the U.S. Mint? And so some people are recommending sticking with pre-1964 90% silver. And some people are saying, no, you want BU, quality, mint. Stay away from those. And some people advocate a little bit of everything. And the little bit of everything approach, and that would include American Eagles. Maybe a third or a quarter in that, maybe some junk silver. Gold's gone down, so maybe a couple, quarter-ounce gold coins if one could afford it, or 1/10. Someone said, well, why do that? And why do you want to have your wealth so dense? Silver is better. With gold possibly bottoming out, or at least being close to it, it may be also a good investment in addition to silver at this time, since they seem to mirror each other's fall and rise. One other thing I'll leave you with is I don't normally buy or sell. I don't normally sell, rather. I'm not a distributor of anything, products-wise. But I came across a good deal on quinoa, a real good deal, from this distributor that actually drives through and delivers in Colorado. And there's a possibility that I'll be able to turn a few bags of organic quinoa and make a small profit because I have a decent deal. Maybe not a lot, maybe, $20 per bag or something like that, but it's possible that using the space that I have now and using my computer, using the eBay account, now without a whole lot of effort, make a small profit, possibly, because I plan to beat the prices of some of the other ads selling. Like there are some people selling organic quinoa for $180 for a 25-pound bag. I'm not planning on charging that. And so I'm thinking significantly less, but I'm also thinking about possibly adding a bucket and a Gamma seal lid, and then creating a price around that, as long as I can keep getting the quinoa at the current price, which I will not be able to do for more than probably a month or two. This is like a temporary thing. I'm thinking about doing that, and with the profits, turning that into land, a land payment, and or some silver, depending on where silver will be in a couple of months, whether it's still bottoming out, or it could also spike in the next week. So this is a time, even though some people are concerned about economic collapse, even if you don't have very much money, to think about making small moves and small transfers. Real estate isn't a bad investment, depending on what capital you have to work with and where you're talking. I mean, real estate is a very, I'm not an expert on real estate, but real estate is a very diverse conversation, because you have some places in America that are imploding, the property values are imploding, and it's not certain where the cities are going to go after that. And then you have some cities where the property values are imploding, but it seems like eventually the powers that be that run those cities, Kansas City, Missouri, for example, parts of their city has really turned into a ghetto. But they seem to be planning for the future, as homes end up empty and the local government there just sits on them, calls them dart houses, drug houses, so nobody can rent them. I figured that out when I was there. They're deliberately getting ready for some shift in Kansas City, and one day those apartment buildings may be worth something. And then in Portland, Oregon, you have the rent going up and through the roof. And so for certain investors that are in a position to receive the rent in a market like that, and in a market like that you have other investors, though, foreign investors like China, that are now the largest developers in Portland, building a huge hotel in the South Waterfront District. So you have a lot of different things going on with real estate. And there's a lot of concern still about the U.S. dollar and September 2015, October 2015, some sort of world reserve currency, some sort of correction. And so now, I wouldn't call it a panic, but it's the trends are there now of people thinking about putting their funny money into real money, because the concern has returned. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section on what you would put funny money into, or what you would suggest others put their money into to navigate the very difficult economic storms that are actually really yet to arrive to our country. We've seen a few bumps along the road, but people are still getting their food stamps. We've seen a few scares along the way, but people are still getting their disability check. We've seen people prepare for it all to go to hell in a handbasket around these manufactured events like government shutdowns, but we're still seeing the Social Security distributed. We're still seeing basic infrastructure. Most Americans are not ready for the basic infrastructure to be removed from them. And whatever happens along those lines won't be an accident. Just like it's not really an accident what's happening with Greece. The outcome has already been determined, where Greece is going to go, whether it's going to get in bed with Russia, or whether it's going to get in bed with the EU, or whether it's going to have a menage a trois, like it actually is, and be in bed with both, for the purpose of bringing Greece further into the New World Order and playing a critical role in that, as the people watch Greece as an example for what it's like to see the New World Order pull you in a forceful manner into that. On a side note, Europa is the myth, is the mythological entity behind the name Europe, for European Union. And the story of Europa, which has its origins in Greece, is an earth woman being pulled into the sea by a bull who mates with her in the sea. So basically a bull rapes a woman and it is Europa, or gives birth to Europa. And I did a video on this a couple years ago. I know it sounds strange, but when you live in a world with that type of mythology stamped on the EU coin, which it is, it's a metaphor for what's going on. Humanity is being raped. by this banking system that actually represents and is being controlled by something else. I'm Alex Ansari signing off from Southern Colorado. Thanks for watching.